I'm Stephanie Straszynski, the current project manager or manager of our AMP impact system of World Animal Protection. A little bit about us. We are an animal welfare campaigning organization, so we're trying to move the world to protect animals. We have 14 offices in 14 countries, work in more than 50 countries, collaborating with local communities, governmental organizations, governments to kind of responsibly and sustainably change animals' lives for the better. We've got systems change approach now, so really trying to, influence things at a very large scale. So we're acting at a global level, trying to use our voice to put welfare on the global agenda and change the way that the world works to end animal cruelty and suffering. So we are a campaigning organization, and we are, as I said, moving the world to protect animals. So measuring that advocacy is really key to our work, and that requires oversight of our relationships, and that's quite a lot of relationships with external stakeholders. So this is kind of moving into how we work. Before AMP Impact, we relied on really manual processes to keep track of project delivery indicators. We had 4 static quarterly reports in a year, and we had no CRM, like no kind of relationship management database for tracking stakeholder engagement consistently. This is a screenshot of one of our old quarterly reports. So you can see there's a lot of pages, it's got tables in it, it's got pictures in it. It was the kind of one size fits all solution to reporting, but that was the only place that you could get any data. Essentially, we pulled it through to Excel, or we kind of manually copied it through to Excel, but super manual, super static. This here is how we used to track our stakeholder management. So you can see we've got these stages of identified, engaged, activated, and we're tracking both the movement and the position at the end of the year. So this was our stakeholder management. Unsurprisingly, this left us pretty data poor. It consumed a lot of time and resource to be driving these manual processes that didn't yield much benefit. So then our solution, we're almost a year into our use of the system at the moment. This is a fairly simple diagram, but what is interesting about our solution is that it's all within AMP Impact, but Salesforce being a kind of CRM by nature means that we are able to use all of the stakeholder management features as part of our own kind of stakeholder management systems. So we're using it as a CRM. So we have stakeholder and contact records. We're logging activities. Those are the Salesforce activities we're using. The integration with Outlook is really, really popular. We have, so much, especially now, of what we do is all digital. So the fact that people can log their emails to records in the database, even without having to enter it, is really, really helpful. We have relationships between hierarchical stakeholders. We have non-hierarchical relationships as well. And then we can actually take advantage of the report and subscription features to then be able to distribute and share information on that stakeholder management side. So that's kind of one arm of our solution. The other is the campaign management. So that's all the project information, the stuff that is much more in AMP Impact's kind of background, really drawing on that part of it, the indicators, targets, results, AMP Impact activities for tracking delivery in campaigns, and then dashboards, reports for project delivery, data visualization, that kind of stuff. So we have both of those things that are kind of working within our environment. And then this one in the middle is called the stakeholder engagement, in brackets, lobbying records. So this is a custom object that we use to track the progress a stakeholder makes through our engagement cycle. So essentially it's like a pipeline, which is a more familiar way to describe it, that moves. So what you were seeing in the previous slide, this is our pipeline. So in AMP Impact, this has been turned into a custom object that we're using. I will show you what it looks like to kind of manage the progress of these organizations through this lobbying pipeline. The reason I'm talking about this and wanted to zoom in on this, and it kind of has a theme, I guess, with the earlier demo, is automation. So we use the aggregation features to actually generate results on the basis of those records. So it's a simple diagram, but aggregations are somewhat complex. So hopefully it is helpful that it's simple. So we could have 4 different records here with different stages in the pipeline. An aggregation can then run a result and tell us how many are at this stage, how many are at that stage, and how many at the other stage. That's a single aggregation example. What we're actually doing is a whole lot of aggregations. So we have lots and lots of records of lots of different people, sometimes even the same organization that's moving through several different issues. And then we can actually aggregate those results to the specific objective. We can get even specific in terms of what type of organization it is. And what this does is it actually generates the results against our project indicators through use of the CRM functions. So that removes the need for a manual input of results against those indicators. So when someone kind of reaches the final stage in the pipeline, they have basically done something that meets the target that we have, rather than them have to manually write in, I have achieved one thing against that target. The aggregations are actually now able to populate that result for them. This is what it looks like. I can see this question in the chat. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Zach. I think it's very cool. So it's kind of why I wanted to talk about it, because I know that aggregations are not are one of the lesser used features. So I just wanted to kind of spotlight what it does for us. This is what a record looks like. So you can see that we have a cycle stage here, which says activated. It's linked to campaigns. It's linked to objectives. We have influence on the campaign, variety of other things. The records are relatively simple by nature. And an advantage of working this way is that this record can transfer across multiple years and different campaigns. So you can see this is campaign 2022. Some of these engagements, they take years. And previously we had no data continuity, whereas now a record can run for as many years as it's required to. And when it's complete, you mark it as complete and it kind of becomes archived. But you can change what objective it's on, what campaign it's on. The record itself is much more permanent. So it really allows us to more easily manage these pipeline stakeholders moving through this pipeline over a long period of time, which particularly as we move into systems change, it is going to take a long time. There are people that we work with for years, and actually being able to have a running history of our engagement with them through those years is really, really helpful for us from a, stakeholder management and then campaign management point of view as well. So this is what the aggregations look like. So this is the result is here. You can see it's not an input box, it just appears. So we have the aggregation set up to refresh monthly at the moment. So every month, the system automatically correlates and produces results based on all those records. So it means that even though we run on a quarterly reporting kind of cycle, if those records are kept up to date more frequently than that, the results are going to be there within the month, essentially. So we're not waiting 3+ months to actually see a result. If the CRM kind of stakeholder management side is kept up to date, the result is there as of the first of the month, basically. So it's a step towards us getting even more dynamic data. Some benefits and challenges of this I thought might be nice to talk about. So one of the biggest benefits of working in this way is that the stakeholder engagement data and our project delivery data exist in the same environment. So they can be combined together in dashboards, so we can see things from both kind of functions and sides of the system in the same place. It really is very convenient, and it's very helpful to have one place where we're pulling in a lot of information about what we're doing, things that we've not had before. So it's really expanding the sort of opportunities for us in terms of how much we can see in the same place and how we can actually work with that data. The fact that we have automated results based on using these stakeholder management functions reinforces the use of those functions. So in theory, it's driving wider engagement with the system, because your results aren't going to generate if you don't keep your stakeholder management up to date. So it's kind of, it then becomes a feedback loop that encourages people to keep using the stakeholder management side, because if they don't, their results aren't going to pull through. It also removes human error in the manual input of those results, because the system is calculating them for them. In terms of what might be some of the challenges, aggregations are a complex feature, so we have had to test and adapt how we use them to be most effective. And it does rely on correct and timely use of the stakeholder management functions to generate correct results. You can describe that as a challenge. I think it also has advantages in a way, because it actually then again brings that loop back and encourages correct, timely use of the system and stakeholder management to be kept up to date and accurate in order to have correct results. So if people's results aren't correct, you can say, well, it's probably because you need to go and you actually need to be more, pay more attention to your stakeholder management. So it's a challenge with a few little perks as well. So the result, just check this, questions. the result, this is just a simple dashboard that we use, but these dashboards can bring together information from stakeholder engagement activity, along with results from our campaign indicators, and it really changes the way that we're able to access and use our data. This system is really dynamic and it's live in a way that nothing we used before was. As I mentioned earlier, we aren't yet at our 1 year mark for our system. So our first birthday is in April, thereabouts. So it is still new and we're making improvements and adding new features. This is actually, that is a chart that's drawn off the custom objects, so the cycle stage report